If you're a single man right now, don't rush to escape it. Don't apologize for it. And definitely don't let society shame you out of it. Because what most men don't realize is this: being single is not a problem phase of life, it is a power phase. And the men who waste it are usually the ones who later suffer the most inside relationships they were never prepared for. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Most men don't want a relationship. They want relief. Relief from loneliness, relief from boredom, relief from feeling behind while everyone else seems settled. And when a man enters a relationship to fix an internal lack, he doesn't become a better partner. He becomes dependent, anxious, insecure, and controllable. That's not love. That's emotional hunger, pretending to be commitment. Right now, while you are single, you have something extremely rare: clarity without compromise. Your time is yours. Your money is yours. Your energy is yours. Your mistakes only affect you. And yet, instead of using this phase to sharpen themselves, many men panic. They scroll, they chase attention, they beg for validation, they rush into connections that drain them, and then wonder why they feel weaker, not stronger. Here's what no one tells you: relationships do not create masculine stability, they expose it. If you don't have discipline while single, you will not magically gain it in a relationship. If you lack purpose now, love will not give it to you. If you're confused about your direction, adding emotional responsibility will only multiply the chaos. A man who hasn't built himself is not ready to share himself. Staying single right now is not about avoiding women. It's about earning access to the right ones later, because high-quality relationships don't respond to desperation. They respond to grounded men. Men who are not impressed easily. Men who don't need constant reassurance. Men whose lives are already full, structured, and moving forward. Most men jump into relationships before they've developed emotional control. They react instead of respond. They argue instead of lead. They fear silence. They over-explain. They over-text. They overgive. And slowly, attraction fades. Not because they were bad men, but because they were unfinished men. Singlehood gives you the space to finish yourself. This is the phase where you learn how to sit alone without feeling empty, where you learn how to handle stress without emotional dumping, where you build routines instead of relying on someone else's presence to regulate your mood. And this matters more than you think, because emotional self-regulation is one of the most attractive traits a man can develop. A man who is calm under pressure, a man who doesn't chase, a man who doesn't panic at distance, a man who doesn't need constant emotional feeding. That man is rare, and rarity creates value. When you stay single intentionally, you start noticing patterns you were blind to before. You realize how often attraction pulls men into dynamics where they shrink themselves. You see how many men tolerate disrespect just to avoid being alone. You understand how easily desire can override logic, and how expensive that mistake becomes long-term. Singlehood teaches restraint, and restraint is power. It teaches you that not every connection deserves your time, not every spark deserves pursuit, not every woman who likes you deserves access to you. And this mindset changes everything, because the moment you stop chasing, you start choosing. And men who choose don't beg. This phase is also where you build identity outside romance. Your work, your physical strength, your competence, your financial direction, your mental resilience. Relationships amplify what already exists. If your foundation is weak, intimacy becomes a stress test you fail repeatedly. You don't need love to feel alive. You need direction. You don't need constant affection. You need purpose. You don't need someone to complete you. You need to become someone complete. Most men don't struggle in relationships because women are difficult. They struggle because they skip the phase where they were supposed to become emotionally solid, mentally sharp, and internally stable. And here's the hard truth: women don't leave men who lead themselves. They leave men who make women their center. When you are single, you get to practice being the center of your own life without guilt. You get to build standards instead of bending boundaries. You get to define what you will and will not tolerate. You get to experience attraction without attachment, interest without urgency, desire without desperation, and that rewires you. You stop falling for potential. You stop romanticizing effort. You stop mistaking attention for compatibility. You start seeing clearly. Staying single also protects you from premature emotional debt. Emotional debt happens when you invest before you're ready, and then spend years paying for a decision made out of loneliness. Many men commit too early, then feel trapped. They lose ambition, they lose discipline, they lose direction, not because relationships are bad, but because timing matters. A relationship entered too early becomes a distraction. A relationship entered at the right time becomes an accelerator. Right now, your job is not to impress anyone. Your job is to build something worth joining. This is the season where you should be uncomfortable, where you push your limits, where you fail privately, where you grow without applause, where you outgrow old versions of yourself before asking someone else to accept you. The men who use singlehood wisely don't complain later. They choose better. They attract differently. They move slower but stronger. So if you're single right now, don't rush to escape it. Respect it, use it, honor it, because this phase is shaping the man you will become and the quality of relationship you will eventually sustain. Stay single, not because you can't find someone, but because you're becoming someone. And that makes all the difference, because once you understand this phase deeply, you stop seeing singlehood as waiting and start seeing it as training. This is where you build tolerance for silence. Most men can't sit with themselves. The moment there's no notification, no message, no validation, anxiety creeps in, and any man who is uncomfortable alone will eventually become uncomfortable to be with. He will seek distraction instead of depth. He will confuse noise for connection. Singlehood forces you to confront that discomfort and master it instead of escaping it. This is also the phase where you learn delayed gratification, something modern men are losing rapidly. Everything today is instant: replies, pleasure, access. But attraction doesn't grow in urgency, respect doesn't grow in speed, and long-term desire does not reward impulsive men. It rewards men who can wait, observe, and choose intentionally. When you stay single, you sharpen your judgment. You stop letting chemistry override character. You stop letting beauty override behavior. You stop letting attention override values. And this is critical, because the biggest mistake men make is committing based on how someone makes them feel, not how someone behaves over time. Singlehood gives you time to watch patterns, not moments. This is where you also stop outsourcing your emotional well-being. Many men unconsciously expect a woman to soothe their stress, motivate their ambition, regulate their mood, and validate their worth. And when she can't, resentment grows. But when you learn to manage your own emotions while single, you don't look for a partner to fix you. You look for one to complement you. That difference alone changes the entire dynamic. A man who needs is easy to manipulate. A man who chooses is impossible to control. This phase teaches you to become dangerous in the healthiest way, not aggressive, not cold, but self-contained. You don't overshare, you don't overpromise, you don't rush intimacy. You let people reveal themselves, and when something doesn't align, you walk away without drama, because you're not afraid of being alone. Fear of being alone is the root of most bad relationships. Staying single also allows you to build masculine polarity naturally. You develop structure, routine, discipline, physical presence, mental sharpness. And polarity doesn't come from words. It comes from how grounded you are in your life. When your life has direction, people feel it. When your days are purposeful, your energy changes. You're not trying to impress. You're busy progressing, and progress is magnetic. This is also where you learn the difference between attention and admiration. Attention is cheap, it's everywhere, it costs nothing. Admiration is rare, and it only comes when a man respects himself enough to delay access to himself. Singlehood teaches you to value your time, your energy, and your standards. You stop giving boyfriend-level effort to people who haven't earned friend-level consistency. You stop auditioning. You start evaluating. And slowly, your relationships, even casual ones, become cleaner, calmer, and more respectful. Less chaos, less confusion, less emotional whiplash. This phase also strips away illusion. You see how many relationships are built on fear, convenience, and habit, not love. You see how many people stay together because starting over feels scary. And once you see that clearly, you refuse to enter something unless it adds peace, not pressure. Singlehood trains you to ask better questions. Not do they like me, but do they add value to my life? Not am I losing them, but am I losing myself here? Most men never ask these questions until it's too late. And the man who skips this phase often ends up resentful, drained, and confused about how he got there. Not because he lacked love, but because he lacked self-leadership. This is why staying single is not stagnation. It's alignment, it's refinement, it's preparation. It's the quiet work that later shows up as confidence, stability, and presence. The kind that doesn't announce itself, but is impossible to ignore. And in this phase, something even more important begins to happen. Your self-respect becomes non-negotiable. When you're not emotionally attached, you see behavior clearly. You don't rationalize disrespect. You don't excuse inconsistency. You don't explain away red flags just because the chemistry feels good. Singlehood gives you emotional distance, and emotional distance gives you truth. You start understanding that attraction without respect is just stimulation, and stimulation fades fast. This is also where you break the habit of chasing potential. Most men fall in love with who a woman could be if things worked out, not who she is showing you she is right now. Staying single long enough retrains your mind to focus on reality, not fantasy. And reality is what sustains long-term connection. You also learn patience, not passive waiting, but active self-development. You invest in skills, in health, in financial direction, in social intelligence, in understanding how dynamics actually work instead of operating on romantic myths. You stop expecting fairness from attraction and start mastering it through emotional control and awareness. A man who understands dynamics doesn't react emotionally, he responds strategically. Singlehood is where you learn to pause before reacting, where you stop sending messages out of anxiety, where you stop explaining yourself to be understood, where you stop proving your worth. You realize that the right energy doesn't require convincing, it recognizes, and that realization alone shifts how you carry yourself. This phase also exposes how much of your past attraction was driven by ego, not connection. Wanting to be chosen, wanting to win, wanting to feel desired. When you sit alone long enough, those impulses quiet down. You no longer pursue to fill a void. You pursue because there is alignment. That's maturity. This is where you stop confusing intensity with intimacy. Intensity is fast. It burns hot and dies quickly. Intimacy is slow. It builds, it deepens. It requires two emotionally regulated people. And you can't bring regulation into a relationship if you never learned it alone. Singlehood is the training ground for emotional leadership. You also stop making women responsible for your happiness. That expectation is heavy, and it kills attraction over time. When you're fulfilled on your own, connection becomes lighter, playful, free. You're not clinging to outcomes. You're enjoying interaction without attachment to results. And paradoxically, that's when people lean in. This phase also teaches you to walk away early, not after months of confusion, not after emotional investment. Early, calmly, respectfully, because you're not attached to potential outcomes. You're committed to inner alignment. And walking away early is one of the strongest masculine traits there is. Most men stay too long. Strong men leave on time. Staying single rewires your standards upward. You stop negotiating with loneliness. You stop lowering expectations just to avoid empty nights. You learn that peace is better than chaos, clarity is better than excitement, and self-respect is better than attention. And once you internalize that, you no longer fear missing out. You fear misaligning. This is also where your presence changes. You speak slower. You listen more. You don't rush to fill silence. You don't chase reactions. You allow space. And space is where attraction breathes. People feel calmer around you, not pressured. Drawn to you, not overwhelmed. All of this happens quietly. No announcements, no validation, no applause, but it's building something rare, a man who is internally stable, externally calm, and emotionally selective. And that kind of man doesn't enter relationships hoping they work. He enters them knowing who he is and what he won't sacrifice. And once you reach that level of internal stability, you begin to notice something subtle but powerful. You stop competing. You're no longer trying to be better than other men. You're no longer threatened by attention she gives elsewhere. You're no longer measuring your worth by how quickly someone responds or how intensely they react. Because when a man is solid within himself, comparison loses its grip, and a man who doesn't compete cannot be destabilized. This phase teaches you detachment without coldness. You still care, you still connect, but you're not emotionally hostage to outcomes. You don't confuse interest with obligation. You don't confuse access with entitlement. And because of that, your energy feels safe, grounded, not needy. Singlehood also forces honesty. There's no one to impress, no one to perform for, no one to blame. You see your patterns clearly. Where you avoid discomfort, where you self-sabotage, where you seek validation instead of growth. And instead of hiding from those truths, you correct them quietly, consistently. This is where self-trust is built, and self-trust is more attractive than charm, money, or looks combined. You begin to move with intention. Your decisions slow down, your reactions soften. You don't rush to label connections. You don't rush to promise futures. You let consistency speak. You let time reveal character, because you understand that real alignment is proven, not proclaimed. Staying single also teaches you to handle rejection with grace, not bitterness, not resentment, grace. You don't personalize it. You don't spiral. You don't chase closure. You accept that misalignment is not a verdict on your worth. It's information that protects you. And a man who can accept rejection calmly becomes emotionally unshakable. He doesn't pressure. He doesn't manipulate. He doesn't pursue where he isn't invited. And that level of self-respect changes the entire dynamic. This phase also rewires how you experience desire. Desire becomes conscious, not compulsive. You feel attraction, but you don't surrender to it. You allow it to exist without acting impulsively. That restraint creates depth, mystery, presence, because uncontrolled desire leaks energy. Controlled desire focuses it, and focused energy builds power. You also stop mistaking emotional turbulence for passion. You realize that chaos is not chemistry, it's unresolved patterns colliding. Calm doesn't mean boring. Calm means safe, steady, and sustainable. And only a man who has spent time alone can appreciate that distinction. Singlehood also gives you leverage over time. You're not racing against age, pressure, or comparison. You're moving at your own pace. You're building something internally that no one can rush, manipulate, or take from you. And the longer you stay here intentionally, the more selective you become. Not because you're picky, but because you're aligned. You don't ask, will this work? You ask, does this fit? You don't wonder, what if I lose them? You wonder, what if I lose myself? That shift is everything. This phase doesn't make you anti-relationship. It makes you relationship capable. Because when the right connection eventually appears, you won't cling to it. You won't rush it, you won't fear it, you'll meet it from a place of fullness, not lack, not urgency, not fear. And that's when connection stops being something you chase and starts being something that meets you where you stand. So if you're a single man right now, understand this clearly. This is not a gap in your life. This is the foundation of it. This is where weak habits are burned away, where emotional hunger is replaced by self-command, where you stop asking life for direction and start giving it one. The man you become here determines the relationships you will either suffer through or thrive inside later. Don't rush into comfort. Don't trade growth for attention. Don't silence your potential just to avoid being alone. Because men who skip this phase become dependent. Men who endure this phase become decisive. Stay single long enough to build discipline. Stay single long enough to develop standards. Stay single long enough to know yourself so deeply that no one can shake you. And when you finally choose a relationship, it won't be to fill a void. It will be because your life is already full, and someone truly deserves to stand beside it. That is the difference between a man who settles and a man who chooses.